The rishi said, "O son of Sudha, we wish to hear a full and circumstantial account of the place mentioned by you as Samantapanchya." Sati said, "Listen, O ye Brahmanas, to the sacred descriptions I utter, O ye best of men. Ye deserve to hear of the place known as Samantapanchaka. In the interval between the Treta and Dwapara Yugas, Rama, the son of Jamadagni, great among all, who have borne arms, urged by impatience of wrongs, repeatedly smote the noble race of Kshatriyas. And when that fiery meteor, by his own valor, annihilated the entire tribe of the Kshatriyas, he formed at Samantapanchaka 5 lakes of blood. We are told that his reason being overpowered by anger, he offered oblations of blood to the manes of his ancestors, standing in the midst of the sanguine waters of those lakes. It was then that his forefathers, of whom Richika was the first having arrived, there addressed him thus: O Rama, O blessed Rama, O offspring of Bhrigu, we have been gratified with the reverence thou hast shown for thy ancestors, and with thy valor, O mighty one. Blessings be upon thee, O thou illustrious one. Ask the boon that thou mayst desire." Rama said, "If, O fathers, ye are favorably disposed towards me, the boon I ask is that I may be absolved from the sins born of my having annihilated the Kshatriyas in anger, and that the lakes I have formed may become famous in the world as holy shrines." The Pitris then said, "So shall it be, but be thou pacified." And Rama was pacified accordingly. The region that lieth near unto those lakes of gory water, from that time hath been celebrated as Samantapanchaka, the holy. The wise have declared that every country should be distinguished by a name significant of some circumstance which may have rendered it famous. In the interval between the Dwapara and the Kali Yugas there happened at Samantapanchaka the encounter between the armies of the Kauravas and the Pandavas. In that holy region, without ruggedness of any kind, were assembled 18 Akshahinis, of soldiers eager for battle. And, O Brahmanas, having come thereto, they were all slain on the spot. Thus the name of that region, O Brahmanas, hath been explained, and the country described to you as a sacred and delightful one. I have mentioned the whole of what relateth to it, as the region is celebrated throughout the 3 worlds. The rishis said, "We have a desire to know, O son of Sudha, what is implied by the term Akshohini that hath been used by thee. Tell us in full what is the number of horse and foot, chariots and elephants, which compose an Akshohini, for thou art fully informed." Sati said, 1 chariot, 1 elephant, 5 foot soldiers, and 3 horses form 1 patti. 3 pattis make 1 senamukha. 3 senamukhas are called a gulma, 3 gulmas a gana, 3 ganas a vahini, 3 vahinis together are called a pritana. 3 pratanas form a chamu, 3 kamas 1 anakini, and an anakini taken 10 times forms, as it is styled by those who know, an akshahini. O ye best of Brahmanas, arithmeticians have calculated that the number of chariots in an akshahini is 21,870. The measure of elephants must be fixed at the same number. O ye pure, you must know that the number of foot soldiers is 109,350, the number of horses 65,610. These, O Brahmanas, as fully explained by me, are the numbers of an Akshohini as said by those acquainted with the principles of numbers. O best of Brahmanas, according to this calculation were composed the 18 Akshohinis of the Kaurava and the Pandava army. Time, whose acts are wonderful, assembled them on that spot, and, having made the Kauravas the cause, destroyed them all. Bhishma, acquainted with choice of weapons, fought for 10 days. Drona protected the Kaurava Vahinis for 5 days. Kama, the desolatu of hostile armies, fought for 2 days, and Salya for half a day. After that lasted for half a day the encounter with clubs between Duryodhana and Bhima. At the close of that day, Aswathaman and Kripa destroyed the army of Yudhishthira in the night, while sleeping without suspicion of danger. O Saunika, this best of narrations called Bharata, which has begun to be repeated at thy sacrifice, was formerly repeated at the sacrifice of Janamejaya by an intelligent disciple of Vyasa. It is divided into several sections. In the beginning are Paushya, Paloma, and Astika Parvas, describing in full the valor and renown of kings. It is a work whose description, diction, and sense are varied and wonderful. It contains an account of various manners and rites. It is accepted by the wise, as the state, called Vairagya, is by men desirous of final release. As self among things to be known, as life among things that are dear, so is this history that furnisheth the means of arriving at the knowledge of Brahma, the first among all the sastras. There is not a story current in this world, but doth depend upon this history, even as the body upon the foot that it taketh. As masters of good lineage are ever attended upon by servants desirous of preferment, so is the Bharata cherished by all poets, as the words constituting the several branches of knowledge appertaining to the world, and the Veda display only vowels and consonants, so this excellent history displayeth only the highest wisdom. Listen, O ye ascetics, to the outlines of the several divisions, parvas, of this history called Bharata, endued with great wisdom, of sections and feet that are wonderful and various, of subtle meanings and logical connections, and embellished with the substance of the Vedas. The first parva is called Anakramanika, the second, Sangraha, then Paushya, then Paloma, the Astika, then Adavansavadarana. Then comes the Sambhava of wonderful and thrilling incidents. Then comes Jatugrahataha, setting fire to the house of Lak, and then Hidimbabada, the killing of Hidimba, Parvas. Then comes Bakabada, slaughter of Baka, and then Katraratha. The next is called Swayambara, selection of husband by Panchali, in which Arjuna, by the exercise of Kshatriya virtues, won the Drupadi for wife. Then comes Vaivahika, marriage. Then comes Viduragamana, advent of Vidura, Ragyalabha, acquirement of kingdom, Arjuna Banavasa, exile of Arjuna, and Subhadra Harana, the carrying away of Subhadra. After these come Haranaharika, Kandavadaha, the burning of the Kandava forest, and Mayadarsana, meeting with Maya the Asura architect. Then comes Sava, Mantra, Jarasandha, Digvijaya, general campaign. After Digvijaya come Rajasyaka, Argya Viharana, the robbing of the Aragya, and Sasuplabhada, the killing of Sasupala. After these, Dayuta, gambling, Anyuduta, subsequent to gambling, Aranyaka, and Kramirabhada, destruction of Kramira. The Arjuna Vigamana, the travels of Arjuna, Kairati. In the last hath been described the battle between Arjuna and Mahadeva in the guise of a hunter. After this, Indraloka Vigamana, the journey to the regions of Indra, then that mine of religion and virtue, the highly pathetic Nalapakyana, the story of Nala. After this last, Tirthayatra, or the pilgrimage of the wise prince of the Kurus, the death of Jatasura, and the battle of the Ikshas. Then the battle with the Navadakavachas, Ajagara, and Markandeya Samasya, meeting with Markandeya. Then the meeting of the Drupadi and Satyabhama, Gashayatra, Murgaswapna, dream of the deer. Then the story of Brihadaranyaka, and then Indradrumna. Then Drupadi Harana, the abduction of Drupadi, Jayadratha by Moksana, the release of Jayadratha. Then the story of Savitri, illustrating the great merit of connubial chastity. After this last, the story of Rama. The parva that comes next is called Kundalaharana, the theft of the earrings. That which comes next is Aranya, and then Vairata. Then the entry of the Pandavas and the fulfillment of their promise of living unknown for 1 year. Then the destruction of the Kachakas, then the attempt to take the kine of Virata by the Kauravas. The next is called the marriage of Abhimanyu with the daughter of Virata. The next you must know is the most wonderful parva called Udyoga. The next must be known by the name of Sanjayana, the arrival of Sanjaya. Then comes Prajagra, the sleeplessness of Dhritarashtra, owing to his anxiety. Then Sanatsujata, in which are the mysteries of spiritual philosophy. Then Yanasati, and then the arrival of Krishna, then the story of Matali, and then of Galava. Then the stories of Savitri, Vamadeva, and Vainya. Then the story of Jamadagnya and Shodasarajika. Then the arrival of Krishna at the court, and then Baijalaputrisana. Then the muster of troops and the story of Sheda. Then, must you know, comes the quarrel of the high-souled Karna. Then the march to the field of the troops of both sides. The next hath been called numbering the Radis and Adarathas. Then comes the arrival of the messenger Aluka, which kindled the wrath of the Pandavas. The next that comes, you must know, is the story of Amba. Then comes the thrilling story of the installation of Bhishma as commander-in-chief. The next is called the creation of the insular region Jambu, then Bhumi, then the account about the formation of islands. Then comes the Bhagavad Gita, and then the death of Bhishma. Then the installation of Drona, then the destruction of the Sansaptakas. Then the death of Abhimanyu, and then the vow of Arjuna to slay Jayadratha. Then the death of Jayadratha, and then of Gatotkacha. Then, must you know, comes the story of the death of Drona of surprising interest. The next that comes is called the discharge of the weapon called Narayana. Then, you know, is Karna and then Salya. Then comes the immersion in the lake, and then the encounter between Bhima and Duryodhana with clubs. Then comes Saraswata and then the descriptions of holy shrines and then genealogies. Then comes Saptika describing incidents disgraceful to the honor of the Kurus. Then comes the Isika of harrowing incidents. Then comes Jalapradana, oblations of water to the manes of the deceased, and then the wailings of the women. The next must be known as Shraddha, describing the funeral rites performed for the slain Kauravas. Then comes the destruction of the Rakshasa Charvaka, who had assumed the disguise of a Brahmana for deceiving Yudhishthira. Then the coronation of the wise Yudhishthira. The next is called the Griha Pravibhaga. Then comes Sani, then Rajadharmanasana, then Apadharma, then Mokshadharma. Those that follow are called respectively Sukhaprasna Abhigamana, Brahmaprasanasa, the origin of Durvasa, the disputations with Maya. The next is to be known as Anusasanika. Then the ascension of Bhishma to heaven. Then the horse sacrifice, which when read purgeth all sins away. The next must be known as the Anujata, in which are words of spiritual philosophy. Those that follow are called Asramvasa, Putradarshana, meeting with the spirits of the deceased sons, and the arrival of Narada. The next is called Mausala, which abounds with terrible and cruel incidents. Then comes Mahaprasthanika and ascension to heaven. Then comes the Purana, which is called Kilvansa. In this last are contained Vishnu Parva, Vishnu's frolics and feats as a child, the destruction of Kansa, and lastly, the very wonderful Bhavashaya Parva, in which there are prophecies regarding the future.